remaking of the history of Middle East, a region which since 1948, Arab-Israeli wars, other wars, that recently an agreement has been signed between Israel and Lebanon to demarcate maritime boundary. By the way, Lebanon, like Syria, has no diplomatic relations with Israel. Lebanon, like Syria, is officially still in a state of war with Israel. But Lebanon has signed an agreement with Israel to demarcate maritime boundary, and that agreement has been reached with the support of the US President Joseph Biden. So again we see American mediation, Camp David, 1978, Jordanian-Israeli Peace Treaty, 1994, and now. And then of course prior to that, Abraham Accord, whereby UAE and Bahrain, they decided to establish diplomatic relations with Israel. And now you have a paradigm shift as far as Lebanon and Israel are concerned. What does it mean? Why they have signed that agreement? They have signed that agreement in order to explore gas reserves, the Mediterranean Sea, the coastal areas of Lebanon and Israel. And that agreement was supported by the US, was supported by Europe, is still being supported because there is a gas crisis going on in Europe. And the idea is to explore and exploit gas reserves from the coast of Lebanon and Israel, and then to export to European countries, which is a better option than importing gas from Russia, which has been suspended. So that is how Lebanon agreed to, because Lebanon is facing the worst financial crisis, despite the fact that Hezbollah is against that agreement. But then the agreement is supported by the government of Lebanon. And there was no signing ceremony of that agreement. The officials of Lebanese government and the Israeli government, they signed the documents and submitted the documents to the UN via the US. And by the way, in Israel, there is also opposition by Benjamin Netanyahu, the former Prime Minister, against that agreement. So I think it's a very major, a milestone as far as the Middle East is concerned. Now, there are two things. The first is Israel has tried to exploit signing agreement with Lebanon by arguing that it is basically another indication of legitimacy of Israel in the Arab world, because Lebanon is still in a state of war with Israel, has no diplomatic relations with Israel. The second thing is that Lebanon has ruled out any such change in its policy, that the signing of the agreement on demarcating the maritime boundary of Israel and Lebanon means or is tantamount to recognition of Israel. Lebanon has rejected that assertion. But certainly the US support, the UN support rendered by the European countries, that is enough. And of course, Syria is not in a position to oppose its own issues, and Lebanon is facing severe, as I said earlier, a severe major economic crisis. So what does it mean? It basically means that Israel, which is the strongest state in the Middle East, with a population of only 7-8 billion people, is a nuclear state, has the strongest economy, technology, that it has been able to deepen its legitimacy in the Arab world. And if Lebanon and Israel normalize their diplomatic relations, establish their diplomatic relations, then the only country which will be left in the Middle East is a frontline state. Frontline state basically means in the Middle East means states having borders with Israel, like Egypt as a frontline state, Jordan as a frontline state, Syria, Lebanon as a frontline state, and also to some extent Saudi Arabia. So Jordan, Egypt and Saudi Arabia have been neutralized. Only Syria and Lebanon are left. So the game is basically the project, the greater Middle East project is to remove all the hurdles as far as granting Arab legitimacy to Israel is concerned. And Israel has succeeded to a large extent. So without resolving issues, like Lebanon is a country where Israel has occupied Golan Heights. Israel has annexed Golan Heights, part of Lebanon. And the same country has signed an agreement with Israel. So there is a moment of truth as far as the Arab world is concerned, or the neighbors of Israel. Forget about the Palestinians. Who cares about them? There is absolutely no possibility of an independent Palestinian state with its capital in East Jerusalem, because Israel betrayed the trust of PLO, Palestinians, by revoking the Oslo Accords of September 1993. It revoked it. The regime of Benjamin Netanyahu, which came into power after the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin, the Israeli Prime Minister, in November 1995, when Yitzhak Rabin, the Labour Party leader, the Prime Minister of Israel, who had signed the PLO-Israeli Accords in the lawns of White House, mediated by the US and the American President Bill Clinton in the middle, and Yasser Arafat and Yitzhak Rabin, the handshake. But Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated, which was unbelievable. And there was an article in New York Times immediately after the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin, Jew versus Jew, that Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated by a hardcore Jew who was against the Oslo Accords. Just like Mahatma Gandhi of India, who was assassinated by a Hindu extremist, because Gandhi wanted peace between Hindus and Muslims. So therefore, one can expect more and more changes, far-reaching changes. And the next effort will be to neutralize Syria, normalize relations between Syria and Israel. And if that happens, then there will be no frontline state in the Middle East, state of war with Israel. Thank you very much.